Hello again. I've been asked by the organizers of this meeting to discuss the conclusions that activists and organizers need to extract from the events that have unfolded since February 2022 in Ukraine and February 2026 in Iran. These conflicts exemplify wars initiated by superpowers against weaker nations with almost negligible defensive powers in the face of superpowers armed with nuclear weapons. In fact, there are many conclusions that can be drawn, and I'm sure that all of the listeners today are aware of these kinds of conclusions. However, I need to reiterate a few of them from the perspective of organizers and activists, especially in the global south. It has been clear from the beginning and throughout the course of these conflicts that the superpowers exemplified by Russia in the case of Ukraine war and the United States and its vassal state and extension in the Middle East, namely Israel, have underestimated their foes. They expected a quick and decisive victories to materialize within a few hours after the shock of their thundery overtures. These expectations turned out to be miscalculated, underestimating the resilience of the attacked nations. It also became evident that nuclear arms are not intended for use within the course of these kinds of conflicts of aggression by a superpower against another society. Apparently, these wars waged for unconvincing reasons, but they are clearly aimed at dominating new societies and seizing new lands and resources. This is reminiscent of the imperial age of the 19th century, led by the supercolonial powers of that time: Britain, France, Russia, Germany, Belgium, Italy, Portugal, Spain, Netherlands, Japan, and the United States itself. During the course of these recent wars of aggression, it became evident that nuclear arms are not for use due to an implicit agreement among the elites that control the nuclear armed states. They understand that any nuclear exchanges, even with a small number of warheads, could lead to a nuclear global winter. This, in turn, could result in the extinction of all life on Earth, or at the very least, the demise of organized human societies as we know them now. The main factor that led to the miscalculation by a superpower hegemon attacking what appeared to be a defenseless enemy is the change in the nature of warfare technology. The deciding factors are now very cheap to produce, manipulate, optimize, and launch. I'm referring here to drone technologies and products, which cost around 20,000 US dollars for each drone and can change the balance of battle, shifting it toward the weaker party and distorting the plans of the aggressor hegemon. Similarly, it has become apparent that massive weapons, which are the main tools within the armory of hegemons, especially expensive air power tools and missiles, are of limited effect. In some cases, cheaper technologies are more effective in generating a meaningful counter effect. The hesitancy among the Russian autocrats to initiate full national mobilization for the war in Ukraine, the astonishing reluctance among the unhinged rulers and key players within the current American administration to put boots on the ground in Iran, and the hesitant steps of Israel to deploy ground troops to southern Lebanon reflect a significant change. This change lies in the perspectives of the younger generation in advanced economies. These, these generations are reluctant to fight. They want to enjoy life, return to their mobile phones, social media accounts, and the coziness of their modern, easy lives within their societies. Simply put, they don't want to fight and die. The lessons from these anticlimactic battles are simple for the global south. They convey a straightforward message: get rid of the fear of the world belligerent thugs and global hegemons. They can't kill you all, and you are not defenseless. You may even win a war that the hegemons may initiate if you defy their orders. In other words, the global south needs to recover the will to fight back, as it has done before in several historical instances. One such example is when the powerless Angolan peasant society regained their will to fight the white colonizers in 1961 and earned their independence after a long strife with the help of the Cuban international forces in 1975, after they eradicated from their collective psyche the long standing notion that white armed soldiers were invincible. We should not forget that the superpowers, especially the American hegemon and their tentacles in Europe, still possess economic coercion tools, particularly through their domination of international financial systems. This should guide the compass of organizers and activists. It is crucial to detach the global south economies from the spider web of the globalized capital system led by the United States and its collaborators. The focus should be on redirecting local economies in the global south away from their specialized roles in the globalized world economy. Instead, these economies should gradually be converted to serve the internal markets of the global south. These markets are growing in size and power, enough to sustain local economies without the need to remain tied to a smaller, specific role, exemplified by the Banana Republic model within the architecture of the globalized production and consumption system. This system has been carefully designed and led by the world hegemons and their tentacles within the global north, as well as their representative and puppets within the global south. This should be overcome in any feasible way, whether it is big, small, gradual, or revolutionary. It has become clear that large nations like Ukraine and Iran are better able to tolerate the shock and pressure from aggressors by relying on the resilience of their diverse societies and the vastness of their lands. This, of course, points to the necessity of addressing the scars left on the surface of planet Earth in terms of the artificial national borders created in the global south by the same priorly noted imperial powers. These borders were designed to divide the global south into smaller communities, making them unable to regain power and stability after the previous colonizers retreated and allowed for the decolonization and the creation of new nations. We need to overcome these borders and work locally to build bridges with our neighbors in innovative ways that are compatible with the local needs of our societies. These efforts should not overlook the essentiality of the idea of removing borders between the neighboring societies in the global south, a concept the hegemon themselves discovered long ago when they created entities like the United States, the European Union, that is still evolving and expanding, or the Russian Federation itself. I hope that I have managed to provide you with some helpful information, and I look forward to meeting with you in the very near future. Thank you very much, and all the best.